Have you ever been in the middle of working toward a goal and then one morning you wake up and just don't feel like it? In that moment, you tell yourself, I can't do it today. It's just for today, you think. But that just for today is exactly what makes you stray from your path because your motivation is gone. This is exactly the point where ordinary people give up. But successful people have something different. A second battery called discipline. Hello. I'm Raiden, and this is the Peak Page channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important life skills, more important than any success book, any speech, or any human experience. Something called discipline. We're going to find out how you can keep going even when your motivation runs out. So stay with me, because the answer to this question is going to change the way you look at willpower forever. You know, we all have a motivation battery. Some days it's charged and some days it's empty. But what really keeps us moving forward is a second battery, a battery called the discipline battery. There's a quote from Jocko Willink, the author of Discipline Equals Freedom, where he says, "Discipline is freedom. Because when you learn to do things even when you don't feel like it, you're no longer a slave to your moods." A lot of people think discipline means hardship, means deprivation. But the truth is, lack of discipline is 1,000 times more painful. No one has a worse life than someone who has lost control of themselves. Take a look at yourself. Can you have a healthy body without discipline? Can you grow your career? Can you maintain your relationships? Honestly, none of them. We see discipline as punishment, whereas discipline is actually the greatest gift you can give yourself. Let's paint a picture. Motivation is like fire. You light it, it burns. You feel its warmth, but then it goes out. But discipline is like a battery. You charge it and you can use it whenever you need it. But the question is, why is it so hard to do? Why is our mind always seeking comfort? Because our mind is designed in a way. It's built to avoid pain and seek pleasure. It's the same mind that tells you to sleep a little longer. Start tomorrow. It's okay just this once. But what successful people have realized is that discipline is a choice, not a feeling. It's a decision you have to make every day, even when you don't feel like it. David Goggins has a quote in his book, Can't Hurt Me, that I love. We do the things we hate as if we love them because that's what they call discipline. So if you don't like working out but you still go and do it, you're actually reprogramming your mind. The interesting thing is that discipline is a skill anyone can practice. Discipline isn't innate, it's built. But because it's invisible, because it's internal and intangible, people think they can't change it. But just like your body's muscles, the willpower muscle gets stronger with practice. Let me share a quote from Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist. When you do something you don't like, a part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex gets activated. This is the same part that's connected to willpower, perseverance, and the feeling of being alive. In other words, your brain is just like your body. It gets stronger with tough practice. Every time you resist laziness, you're building your brain. But let's be honest with ourselves. We usually expect comfort from ourselves. We want to be disciplined, but at the same time, we don't want to give anything up. But discipline means sacrifice. A simple but heavy choice. What are you willing to sacrifice to achieve what you want? I always ask myself this question. Radin, what are you going to sacrifice today to become a little bit stronger? And usually the answer is something small. I'll sleep half an hour less. I'll spend a minute or two less on Instagram or think for a minute or two more. And it's these small things that add up and turn into strength. What about you? When was the last time you did something you were supposed to do? Write it in the comments. Because these are the very moments when discipline is built. There's a golden quote from Mel Robbins that says, "No one can maintain motivation. Only discipline can save you." And that's the reality, because discipline means taking action in the absence of motivation. This one sentence sums up the entire philosophy of personal growth. Up to this point, we've learned that discipline isn't pain, it's freedom. We've learned that discipline isn't a feeling, it's a choice. And we've learned that discipline is a skill, not a talent. But the more important question is, how do we build this skill? How can we train our mind and body so that discipline becomes a habit for us, not a compulsion? In the second half of this video, we'll get right into this part, the 3 scientific and practical pillars of discipline, from sleep to emotional maturity. So don't miss the rest, because this is the part where life truly changes. Now that we've understood discipline is a choice, let's see how we can maintain this choice every day in the real world. There are three main components that almost all scientific research, from Andrew Huberman to James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, emphasized. Three simple but powerful pillars. 1. Sleep and planning. 2. Scheduling and time blocking your day. 3. Emotional maturity and practicing hardship. Let's move on to the first pillar. Sleep and planning. The first enemy of discipline is fatigue. You can't be disciplined when your brain is shut down. Good sleep is the fuel for discipline. A lot of people think that sleeping less means being powerful. They tell themselves, I sleep 4 hours and work 20 hours. That's how I make progress. But in reality, lack of sleep means losing control. A tired brain can't make good decisions. It can't say no. Huberman has an interesting quote. You can't talk about focus, motivation, or willpower without talking about sleep. In other words, without enough sleep, discipline simply doesn't exist. From the moment you wake up, your brain starts using energy, and if it wasn't properly recharged the night before, your day starts with an empty battery. Enough sleep means waking up without an alarm clock and feeling refreshed. There's no specific number. It's not 4 hours, it's not 8 hours. It's however much your body needs, so that in the morning you can say, I'm ready to start the day. Plan your day the night before. Decide on your next day before you go to sleep. Because if you don't design your day yourself, others will design it for you. Let's move on to the second pillar, scheduling and time blocking your day. The second pillar of discipline is time management. A lot of people write to-do lists but never actually do them because they don't block out time. As Huberman says, our brains respond to time slots, not lists. So if you just say, I'll study today, your brain doesn't take it seriously. But if you say, I'll study from 10 to 11, it turns it into a commitment. I usually divide my day into 3 main blocks. The first block is in the morning, the second at noon, and the third at night. In the first block during the day, because my energy is higher and my mind is sharper, I try to do more difficult and intellectual tasks. In the second block, I make my decisions. I attend my meetings and engage in social interactions. In the third block, which is at night, I do lighter tasks, review the day, and engage in relaxed learning. Of course, this could be completely different for you. And there's a very important point. When the time for each block is up, finish your task, even if it's not complete. Perfectionism is the enemy of discipline. I have a simple exercise for you. For the next 3 days, create a 3-block schedule. See when your brain performs at its best. Turn that time into sacred time. No phone and no distractions. After a few days, you'll realize that discipline means consciously designing your day, not fighting with yourself. The third pillar is emotional maturity and practicing resilience. Now we get to the most important part of emotional maturity. Discipline means doing the right thing regardless of how you feel, but you can only achieve this through practice. That means you have to deliberately put yourself in tough situations every day. There's a beautiful quote from Seneca, the Roman philosopher, who says, "Comfort is the enemy of the human soul. Choose a challenge every day so you become strong against unwanted hardships." That's it. Every day you should have a difficult practice, even if it's something small. It could be taking a cold shower. It could be having a tough conversation. Or doing a boring task you've been avoiding. Because when you choose your own hardships, life can't catch you off guard. In one of the episodes of the Huberman Lab podcast, Huberman explains that when you do something you dislike, the part of your brain we talked about actually grows. And it's interesting to know that this area isn't just related to willpower, but it's also connected to the will to live. This means that practicing hardship not only increases your discipline, but also boosts your sense of being alive. Here's a very important and small point from David Goggins. We usually wait for motivation to start doing something difficult, but in reality, motivation comes after you do the work, not before it. And this is the difference between ordinary people and resilient people. They know that good feelings don't just come, you have to create them. Just like everyone else, I've had moments when I didn't want to keep going. Days when I felt my mind was tired or my goals seemed far away. But I learned to tell myself one sentence. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to show up and do it. And every time I showed up, life took me one step forward. The truth is, we can't control our feelings, but we can control our decisions. And that's exactly the definition of emotional maturity. An emotionally mature person knows there are days when everything goes wrong, but still gets up because they've promised to keep going. If you also have a special phrase you tell yourself when you're tired, write it in the comments. Maybe your phrase will help someone else not give up today. Discipline isn't some kind of magic. It's a real bridge between what you see in your mind and what you build in the real world. That bridge is built on 3 pillars: proper sleep and planning, conscious time management, and emotional maturity in the face of hardship. When these 3 come together, motivation doesn't matter anymore because action takes the place of feeling. Remember, no one becomes disciplined overnight. But every day you resist laziness, you lay another brick on the bridge between your dream and reality. And one day you'll look back and say, I built it, with my teeth, with sweat, with pain, with discipline. So keep going until that day, even if you don't feel like it. Because on the other side of hardship, your true self is waiting for you. If this video inspired you, give it a quick like so it can be shared with more people. And don't forget, Peak Page is active on social media too. We're there every day, waiting for you with a little nudge. I'm Raiden, and this is the Peak Page channel. Thanks for staying with me until the end of the video. We're just at the beginning of the journey, so keep going. Until the next video, goodbye.